Physiotherapy isn't just about exercises, it's about helping people keep their independence. If you've ever had a family member struggling after surgery, living with a long-term condition, or simply finding everyday tasks harder as they get older, this episode will resonate. Welcome back to the Kent Business Show. I'm Rachel Bryan, and today I'm joined by Joanna from HomeLinks Physiotherapy, a service that brings expert physiotherapy directly into people's homes and care environments. In this episode, we talk about Joanna's journey from working within the traditional healthcare system to building a business focused on personalised, home-based rehabilitation, and why that approach can make such a powerful difference to someone's recovery and quality of life. We explore the realities of supporting people living with complex conditions, how physiotherapy can help people stay active and independent for longer, and why having the right support network around someone can completely change their journey. We also talk about the business side of things, from rebranding and growing the company to creating opportunities for physiotherapists and investors to build their own territories as the service expands. If you're interested in healthcare, community support, or how a purpose-driven business can grow while making a real impact, this is really a fascinating conversation. Let's get into it.
Kent is powered by business, and every business has a story. Join your host, Rachel Bryan, on the Kent Business Show as she meets the businesses powering Kent, sharing their journeys, their experiences, and what they've learned along the way. A real conversation with real people, giving you real inspiration. This is the Kent Business Show, powered by your video team.
So Jo, welcome to the studio. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Jo and I run HomeLinks Physiotherapy. We started up as JLink Physiotherapy in 2016, and I know that because I had a 6-month-old baby at the time.
Oh gosh.
And what else do you do other than set up a new business when you've got a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-year-old? So we set up, me and a business partner set up JLink Physiotherapy, which we didn't actually know at all what we were going to be doing with that. And it evolved into a home visiting physiotherapy service, which has been really successful up in sort of the London boroughs, Kent, London boroughs, sort of Bexley, Greenwich, Lewisham and Bromley. And about 18 months ago I bought my business partner out, so I took over the company myself, and we've been on like an 18-month journey which has got us to where we've got to today, of which I've sort of changed the brand name, so we still keep the JLink Physiotherapy is providing some of the services, but I've changed the brand name to HomeLinks Physiotherapy, so that it sort of starts to really tell us a little bit more about what the actual core services are that we provide.
Yeah.
And I think it just hopefully gives an idea to the customer or the client straight away that it's obviously been delivered in their home or care home or wherever they're residing at the time. And then I'm taking it on another journey.
Why not?
as we're starting to look for partners to come in with us to take on certain territories and certain areas and to grow it that way. So there's a variety of different ways in which you can obviously grow a business.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time working with business mentors to find out the best way for me personally as to how I wanted to grow the business. And I've always wanted to have an opportunity to where I can grow it into sort of branches or into territories. So we're sort of taking that model where people can buy into our brand and the way that we run services and run their own, but they very much run it in their own way with their own business, but with our foundations and our branding and our values and the style in which we do it.
Well, it's such an amazing way to do it, isn't it? Because ultimately when people start to think, oh, I want that work-life balance, or like they find that gap and things like that, and then the whole thought process of starting a business and the rigmarole of setting up and then all the additional hats you don't realise you have to wear, that can be quite daunting. Whereas buying into a franchise, someone basically here's a cookie cutter of what we've done and made it successful.
Yeah.
Here's the successful name. What support can we give you to make
that
work?
And I think I've learnt so much. I mean, I've been a bit of a lifelong entrepreneur and had various different ideas and things in which I wanted to do. I found finding my profession very difficult when I was doing my A-levels and when we were trying to work out what career are you going to do, because actually I'd tried and tested so many different things even though I was still only 18. I'd worked in various different sectors and I'd tried other things, and I'd really enjoyed making something that then I could then sell or do something or provide a service that then I could then deliver on. I came through very much the dance and performing arts side of things, so
I'm here for you.
So I'd understood the way in which you can create a career in a business out of creating something, whether it's on the stage or whether it was something, my dad's an engineer and all of those sorts of things. So I find it hugely difficult at the age of 18 to decide what on earth will I do. And I've sort of decided physiotherapy because it brought together my interest in science and my interest in dance and my interest in people and the caring sector and my interest in looking after older people and grandparents and all of that. It all brought it nicely into a nice neat package, which then I went on to study and then went to university and got that degree and studied that.
I had to. You didn't just study it. I mean, you got the highest marks in your
for the
award for
the dissertation. So that was when so you do your basic degree for physiotherapy and oftentimes, but it's not so common now, but the career trajectory used to be that then you did your rotations and you did various, a bit like junior doctor rotations, but you do junior physiotherapy rotations. So I did those in a London hospital and then went out into the community. And then when I was out in the community and started taking on some team leadership responsibilities, I was gifted the opportunity to be able to do my master's, which was brilliant, at George's. And it was when I was doing George's that I did a dissertation, and I tend to be a very visual person, so I presented the dissertation with a lot more diagrams and it was very much before the time where you would have a lot of diagrammatic format. It was tended to be a lot pre the time which we used a lot more diagrams to display data. So anyway, so I did that, and essentially got an award for that, which was brilliant. But it was during that time that I was also thinking, well, I like the role of physiotherapy, but where I was being limited in the skills I was able to use, I found that a little bit frustrating in the roles that I was expected to do. And then stepping out of that sector and going into the private sector essentially, and being able to use the whole toolkit of what the whole professional physiotherapy means, and being able to spend as long as you want, or as long as that client wants you there, and you can spend long sessions with that person, and also over a long period of time. I mean, some of our clients have been with us for 5 years.
Wow.
They've been really, and you're really supporting somebody through the whole of their pathway.
And I bet you see
and their journey
change and sort of get a quality of life back in that time as well.
Absolutely. So if you think of somebody maybe who's and making real physiological change as well. So if you're thinking of somebody who maybe has got a degenerative condition, and say for example Parkinson's, you can actually make a real physiological change with somebody if you can get in and support them early, teach them those real specific exercises, lifestyle choices, opportunities, and coach them and counsel them through the whole journey. Actually, it's evidence now tells us that if we can get in and support that person, their trajectory is less likely to go downhill as quickly. We can actually maintain and improve their fitness in those early years. And if we can do that in those early years, then they've got more resilience to cope with the latter years.
Well, support when it comes to any sort of health thing, they always say like you need people around you, network and community, family, all of those things, and that's what will help you push through and work through. And you're allowed those moments of being like, oh, woe me, but ultimately you need someone to then pull you out of that. And
absolutely.
so then by you coming in so early, not only do you immediately go up in your health and like, oh wow, okay, I've got this and I can do this and look at me, when that inevitable deterioration comes with those sorts of degenerative diseases and illnesses, is ultimately you've had a longevity of a connection around you, so it like you say, the decline is so slower. It is slower,
and also we're there with them, so we're there in those crisis moments. If they are there, they've got somebody who they've trusted, they've got a good relationship with, they know that they can ask any random question and we're trusted, but also we're accessible, so they can quickly contact us, quickly talk to us, and we can put in bits and pieces or help guide them, signpost them, suggest bits that, you know, if there's where we think they need to be signposted and be reviewed from a medical perspective or social care perspective, we can link them in with all of those, like the multidisciplinary team really. And we work really closely with things like care homes and also care providers and other health providers, because then we can link our clients into those at that moment. And we're that, hopefully the plan is that we're that guiding support all the way through that journey. And you know, going back to some of the things that I found frustrating with the profession before I was getting into sort of this sort of private service, was that you were expected to have a bit of a stop-start, and there's always an expectation of, when are you discharging this person? When's this person's session going to stop? Right. But actually, it's about, well, why should we necessarily be discharging the person? We should be thinking about what value can we be giving that person, and what does that person need, and how long do they need that for, and then when they've achieved that goal or achieved that ambition or anything that they want to do, then it might be our time to step back and allow them to carry on. But then quite oftentimes they've had a new insight into what their capabilities of being are, and they want to do the next step. So it might be a goal, so can you get up and down your stairs so that you can sleep back upstairs, for example, and we're in practicing step stairs, strength, balance, all of that, and getting them to the point where they're now able to get and sleep upstairs with their partner, for example. And they achieve that, and we think that's us all done and ready to sign them off type thing. But then we start looking at the steps going out of their house, and the next thing we're thinking about, okay, so should we take you outdoors, and what might that look like? Onto buses, back out connected to the community.
And again, it's that quality of life and things like that. So I suppose even things like getting in and out of the bath as well, all of that. So like, great, you're now upstairs. You're not having to shower. Like, you want to have a bath? I love a bath. Like, if someone said to me, you can't ever bath again, I think I'd cry a lot. I'd fill a bathtub because that is a time that you can chill. And that, you know, when people lose what really feels small and, you know, we all take for granted is huge. So then to work towards getting that back is, like you say, empowering.
Absolutely, and all sorts of aspects. I mean, people who've following a stroke, who maybe have got limited use of their arm. There's just ignoring that or not seeing that as part of the person just doesn't work with us. We have to be able to find a way of being able to support that person with their arm, and evidence so much so shows that if you can get the dosage of the exercise correct and the amount of exercise at the right time, then actually you can make quite a bit of physiological change with that. And there's so much undertreating going on within physiotherapy, where we're just not getting the right dosage, and the people aren't accessing the right amount and regular physio enough.
Because you can't say, 8 sessions and then done. Like, what might take someone 8 sessions could take someone else 12, could take someone else 20. So again, you're back in a world of going, well, What, and then tick off what?
Yeah, so setting sort of arbitrary figures like 8 sessions, 6 sessions, 2 sessions is just not helpful.
No.
But talking with somebody about realistic goals and what they might be able to achieve and how they would be able to achieve that is helpful.
Yeah.
And then that person can make that informed decision. And some of the time it is about you having to do quite a lot in between our sessions.
Yes, but again, that support that you're giving and providing and saying, right, here's these exercises, this is this additional places you can go and have and things like that.
Doing all of that. So and so that's what. So it's all of that passion and that love of people and the love and my reborn love of the actual profession that's sort of driving me forwards with this whole business.
I can feel it. Like, I hope everyone else can, because I'm like, yes, I'm in for this. Like,
and the business. And therefore I want to build this business because I want to give physios the opportunity to actually become a person who's able to deliver really decent rehabilitation for people as long as they need it, with a really good quality of dosage and really good quality detailed assessment, so that we're unpicking every element to really address physiologically what's going on with that person. How can we change that physiology rather than just maybe providing an aids and adaptations. Aids and adaptations have their place, but it's about also how can we change that person's future and their body into the future. So that, as well as making complete changes to people's lifestyles and qualities of life as they go forwards.
It definitely sounds like it. Again, it's, if anyone's listening to this in this industry and is beginning to fall out of love or has fallen out of a profession that ultimately you studied and gone into to make a difference, and now feel like you're just churning through a system. Yeah, this is where opportunities lie.
100%, absolutely.
And are there opportunities to come and join the team before then investing in, or is it straight into the investment of a franchise zone? Like, how does that work?
Well, it absolutely depends on that individual, and as you will know as a business owner yourself, that there's an element of somebody to be a business owner. There's a certain quality and skills that you and passion that you would need and want to have in order to invest in. But then we can supply with all of the foundations and trainings. Enthusiasm is important. An element of enthusiasm and ability to just give it a really good go. We can do a lot of the training in between times. But we also have employees, so within each of the franchised territories or each of the territories, there's obviously physios working in those, and you can be employed therefore to work as a physio within that territory. And also we have subcontractors, so sometimes subcontracting physio, so you might have your own business to some extent and then subcontract in and provide services on behalf of HomeLinks Physiotherapy, whichever territory you're doing. So we have a bit of a mixed model often in each of the territories and each of the areas. But also we're always open for people and physios to come and spend a day with us, to just give it a little bit of an explore, spend some time out with us to just open their eyes to what physiotherapy can possibly be and remind. I got to the point where I'd completed those junior rotations I talked about earlier, and then I had a brilliant opportunity to be able to go off and have a bit of a break and go travelling. And I remember saying to myself, I don't know whether I'll ever go back to physiotherapy. And I went off travelling. And I think it was, like you said, it was the system. It wasn't actually the profession that I'd fallen out of love with. It was the system and the way in which I was being asked and the trajectory of what my career might have looked like. So, it's just the opportunity to be able to be your own boss, but have the network and support of one of the things that physiotherapists do like is having a network of people around, so that we're very reflective individuals and we will reflect with each other and support each other quite a bit. So that's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is you don't actually have to be a physiotherapist to run one of our territories.
Really?
So we've got another...
I'm not dabbling. Ben will tell me off if I try and start any more businesses.
So there's the other model where you can be an investor and we'll almost match make physios. So if you were a physio and potentially looking and thinking, that's really interesting, but I don't know if I've got the investment that I would want to do that, then we can definitely match make and partner people up, because there's a bit of a both. Or the investor might already have maybe another franchising, might already have another business, and this would link quite nicely with another business sector out in the community perhaps, and then we would support them to work out how to recruit their best and the best type of physiotherapist to come in and work, who would essentially become their clinical lead, and then under that they can then build their team of physios and physio assistants and fitness instructors and things like that.
There's so many different opportunities that are available just via HomeLinks alone, like and different ways to invest, like you say, in yourself, in others, you know, really. And is it yourself that people need to reach direct to? I mean, we'll grab all your links and stuff, but you're the main point of call.
Yes, so I head up the franchising unit of the company, and then I've also got some operations managers who support from the business side of things and also the clinical side of things. But I'm the best contact because I can tell you, and I can tell you the lived experience as well, because I've started it from nothing and I've built a large, big area and of a company that's thriving and profiting and doing extremely well, and now we're looking at supporting those across the country, really, as to building that from nothing to something large, but a lot faster and a lot more profitable than the way that I did it, because how I invested in the business in the early stages was time and money.
Yeah, of course.
But obviously somebody who's taking it into the future, they won't need so much time because we'll already have quite a lot of the foundations.
But the lessons are learned, aren't they? And really, you've got this is everything that has worked. You're not going to have to try and a lot of the automisation and a lot of the systems are already there. We've seen the last 18 months we've changed a lot of our systems and stepped up into this sort of new arena and trying to keep up with the technology as it's progressing very, very fast in front of us. And that's the advantage of joining a network of lots of companies delivering the same and working together, because then we've got lots of intelligence as well that's then feeding into the system, and we're then able to provide the best system. And it's interesting because the way that you've spoken about how people can come on board, you know, from owning a territory to investing and bringing in a physio who has that passion and wants to bring that back. What I find really interesting is it overlaps on an interview I did with Nicola, who runs Little Music Stars, and she's bought into a franchise, but her previous skill set's very different to some of the other owners who are dance and performing arts. She was a preschool teacher, and actually those learnings have then taught the group. So again, with you, where they're all coming in from different sectors,
absolutely.
It really brings
so my area and clinical speciality is frailty in older people, and my clinical operations manager, she's a trauma and orthopaedic specialist physiotherapist, whereas our business partner who's taking over another area, she's very much like long-term conditions, amputees, renal failure, and also palliative care. So as the network is growing, we're starting to get lots of different specialties as well within the network, so we can transfer those skills across the network, and make sure that all of our skills are up to date and supported. So if, for example, there was a clinical question or a complex case in a certain area and it wasn't totally that business partner's area of expertise. There's a whole host of us who would be able to support that person, and that's how the physio profession has always supported itself, really openly and collaboratively.
Yeah.
So exactly like you were saying, with it doesn't really matter where your background has been, because you can then craft your business as to the types of people that you enjoy and what you're passionate about supporting, but have a breadth of skills, because we can support you clinically as you sort of do your CPD and all of that in continued professional development across the whole of the sector.
So again, within that, also your owners are continuing to learn and develop their expertise, but then also continuing their qualifications and additional qualifications to continue to better the service that each territory are offering.
Absolutely. And I think that's traditionally what maybe we haven't been very good at doing historically in the world of private physiotherapy, is keeping really on top of the top current evidence base, and making sure that we really continue to be updated with our skills. But that's something that we're very strong,
you guys
and we really focus on, is making sure that everybody we audit and support each other to be able to make sure that we're retaining those skills and pushing those boundaries a lot
further. Amazing, Jo. I've just loved the conversation about the business side of things, and obviously where you are in the franchise and the growth. Afterwards, I'd love to jump into the sort of people you're supporting. We've touched on it a little bit with the Parkinson's and things like that, but we're going to jump to the sponsor and then we'll dive into that after the break. So here's our sponsor.
This podcast episode was produced by your video team and recorded right here at YVT Studios. We're a full-service content studio helping coaches, creators and business owners turn conversations into content that connects. Need a professional space to film your podcast? We've got it. Want someone to handle the filming, editing and strategy? That's what we do best. Looking to walk away with months of high quality video content, all filmed in one day? Book a VIP content day. Whether you're hands-on or hands-off, we'll guide you through the process, keeping it simple, stress-free and seriously effective. It starts with a conversation. We turn that conversation into content, and that content builds your brand. Your video team, making you the hero of your brand.
So welcome back. I'm still joined by Jo from HomeLinks Physiotherapy. Jo, thank you again for joining us. We were going to dive into the types of clients that you have. So we touched on Parkinson's, you touched on strokes. Who else?
We support anybody who best be supported in their home or care home, which does tend to be older, frailer people, or people with complex conditions, long-term conditions, or people with neurological conditions, or people post-op.
Okay, yeah.
So somebody maybe who's had a knee or hip replacement, if we can go in the next day or the next couple of days as soon as they've had that knee or hip replacement done, because oftentimes now people are going into hospital for a matter of hours, days, and they're being discharged the next day post-op, and then being asked to go to an outpatient physiotherapy appointment back at the hospital or something else. Well, whereas we can go in and see that person at home, and it saves their transport, having to be able all of that. It's honestly so much easier to be able to have a physio to come and visit you in those first few hours following surgery than it is for you to have to worry about getting somewhere. And also then we can make the exercises and everything more meaningful, and the benefit of doing the physiotherapy is lived there in the home, as opposed to you have all the benefit of the physio, then you're back into your car or back onto a hospital transport and transported back home for you then to have lost all the benefit of, especially if you're post-knee, your knee's back.
Like, you now that was your physio, wasn't it? The travelling alone.
And then you've not managed the inflammatory response particularly well, because it's all inflamed again. So, but whereas we can leave somebody, right, you've done all of your exercises, now it needs to be iced, leave them well positioned, show them where the positioning is, and leave them in that nice, lovely position for their post-exercise rest that they require.
And they're in their environment as well, right? So you can tailor their exercises and what they've got to do physio-wise to, okay, you're in a bungalow, or you've got this furniture, you've got that. So
absolutely,
right.
And we use the kitchen work surfaces all of the time for all of where they hold on to those for all their balance exercises, or if people have had a fall or had something happened within their home, we can look at that, and we can look at the home environment, look at them and how they're functioning in those home environments. Or if a family member wants to support them with their exercises, we can teach and explain how to do that. Or if they've got carers involved, then we can say, okay, we'll come at a time when the carers are going to be there, so that then they can get involved with some of the rehab. Or we can time ourselves to come just before the carers, so that then, especially if somebody's in bed and they're spending all of their time in bed, we can get them sitting up under the edge of bed, work and support with them just before the carers then come in to then help position the person back into bed. So we can work quite collaboratively with everybody around.
And, after having surgery and those sorts of things as well, is sometimes you just, like, you haven't had time to, I'm going to be really vain, but like wash your hair, do your makeup. So the thought then of going back out in public and I feel groggy, I feel naff, I don't, there must be so many cancellations and non-attendance to appointments, whereas actually, again, we're back to you haven't got to do any of those things because someone's going to come into your environment. You can look and feel however you like. Yeah, you've got them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we turn up at the door. So we're there. And we've got, there's we're really strict and clear on our safeguarding policies and things like that, and there are many people out in the community who have domiciliary care visiting them and have things like key safes and letting themselves in. So if a person isn't able to get to the front door, then we are a trusted team of people that then can access into that person's house in the same way that a care company might access that person in their home, and then we can see them at home. And some of the best relationships we have is actually with the sons and daughters of the client. So as long as the client's happy for us to have that good relationship. Oftentimes the sons and daughters don't live near mum and dad any longer, and so they'll often ask us to go in and be that trusted person to let them know as to what's happening, and while we're there, check that the Ocado or whatever order got delivered, and do some bits and pieces that we can just be that vision and view and that profession that they can then call upon and ask us to check a few bits there, and know that we're a trusted profession, essentially, professional.
Do you know, and I think from a family mental health as a whole, that alone is so incredible, because I remember supporting my mum in taking care of her dad, so my granddad, and the stress and the strain that has when you stop becoming a daughter and start becoming a carer, it becomes a very different relationship. And something I've always said to my mum was like, I love you to the world and back, I would always care for you, and my dad obviously, but we would always care for you, but I'm not going to be your carer. We will always put things in place that I will still be your daughter, because I don't ever want them to feel like their humanity's been taken from them as well. And to do, we always joke about, I'll change your nappy when you're old, mum, but I'm like, I won't, because I don't ever want you to feel like that with me. I will bring in the care that needs to be there, and that alone for the family mental health as well is huge.
Yeah, and I think that's a real poignant point to add, really, and sort of took me back to maybe the reason as to like my deep-seated values and my family values, and we are a family. As a child, that I was with my mum as she was going in and caring and supporting or getting in care for her mum. We are that sort of generation supports the next generation, and in a way that we're another part of that support network for that generation to support the next generation, and we are a tool that family can pull in and use for in that way, and I think that's where the role of physiotherapy can be really broad. A lot of people just think it's about exercise or massage or manipulation or something like that, but actually it's about social inclusion, it's about enabling somebody's quality of life to improve, it's about improving function, improving independence, and sometimes the person may not get fully independent or fully functional, but it's about what can we do to involve them in their care, or how can we support them and allow them to be positioned and seated so that they can wash their face while the carers wash other aspects, or they can be able to put on their makeup or whatever is important, or shave, or whatever is important to them, whether it's that they're at home or in their care home, with carers supporting them. But those are small little goals that are completely achievable, and then we can feed that back to the family member, or the family member may well be there as part of it. But sometimes we do quite often get the call to say, Mum's had a fall, this has happened, I'm in Bristol and I can't get there. Is there somebody who can go in and just let me know what's happened, what the situation is? Has she been taking her medication? And do all of those, sort of feed that back to the family and be part of that network.
That's huge. Amazing. And what sort of responses are you seeing that's, different from those that are having to do the travel and go out to these appointments and things by you coming in? What is that change?
Oh, I think there's a lot of people get very tired doing a lot of that, travelling and journey, and also our visits are a minimum of an hour. So that a lot of people, I don't think Mum's going to be able to exercise for an hour, or Dad's going to be exercising. But actually, we sort of split it up into quite nice into chunks, and the physio will craft that hour as to that individual as they need it. But sort of typically they might be, well, let's talk about what you've achieved this week, let's do some exercises, or we'll do an element of treatment, or we'll look at a skill that you're finding difficult at being able to do. Then we might have a little very short bit of rest while we're then coaching and supporting and talking, like physical rest, but maybe not a rest from talking. And then do another element of what that treatment may look like, have a small rest, and then think about a conclusion and what their next steps might be, or what they want to achieve in the next steps. So it's that sort of, then that next week. So it's that sort of coaching aspect to it as well. So because we have that time with that person, it's like a whole. It's a hug of a treatment, as opposed to a quick let's just check those exercises, give you the next set of exercises, here's a sheet and go type thing. And we'll often exercise with that person, because you and I, when we go to the gym, we're better off if I'm better off if I've got an exercise buddy and somebody holding me to account.
Absolutely. I mean, if I go, I need the person to get me there first.
Exactly, and it's about the accountability, isn't it? And if you can go to a class, or if you can go with an exercise person, and you can, as people, we like elements of competition. So oftentimes, if I'm the physio, I'm often in there doing my exercises with the person, say, right, I'm going to try 12, see if you can do 12, and it's about that mutual game and competition to see whether we can encourage that person to do that little bit more, and it's sort of fun and enjoyable. And we afford ourselves the time to exercise with that person, or participate in on a activity with that person, maybe a lot more demonstration.
And again, not that conveyor belt feeling either, right? Whereas if they were going in and it's like, okay, right, you've done this, great, next. And that feeling, whereas actually they feel like they've been you are theirs entirety for that whole hour. You're theirs. Absolutely,
and they often have time to talk, and we have time to listen, and we have time to respond. And that's a lot of the time people just want to be able to tell their story and explain what their difficulties are, so that then we can explore that with them. And if it's symptom management, I don't think we spend enough time really listening to what those people's symptoms are, or people don't have an opportunity to really share what's really their symptoms are and what they're struggling with, so that then we can listen to that and then we can respond with an appropriate treatment or suggestion or update that we think is appropriate to them, whereas a lot of that gets missed in
the speed that we're trying to get through
when services are sped.
And you're saying that there's this demand for community-based physiotherapy now. It's becoming an all-time high. What's causing that?
Well, there's a sort of governmental shift and understand, so we'll see that all in the media, and then the NHS plan is very much about keep reducing the amount of time that people spend in hospital and bringing them out into the community. So there's a large expectation that we'll see more people being cared for, and there'll be more vulnerable people being cared for out in the community, and that the hospitals will be very much limited to people that genuinely need that hospital visit, so that we can, and they're hoping to bolster up the community services out into the community. What that genuinely looks like from a governmental, and what the statutory services will look like, we don't know yet, but I know there's a lot of work being done at the moment to be able to build that up. But we've got an ageing population as well, so we've got
we're living longer, right?
Yeah. We are living longer. We're having more complex conditions that we're living with. Oftentimes we're living with multiple conditions, and so we might have. It wasn't uncommon when I graduated that somebody had a long-term condition, and we talked about long-term conditions, you know, whether that's your diabetes, osteoporosis, arthritis, all sorts of different long-term conditions if somebody's living with those. But oftentimes now we see people living with multiple long-term conditions as well, which if we can get people early stage and exercising, and I'm often saying we need to fight and build up resilience in your 40s and 50s, so we can build up strength and physiological resilience early on, then the way in which those long-term conditions will affect that person's body, they'll fare better. But we are seeing people living for longer. We are seeing people living with quite complex dementias. We're seeing people live long life with cancer. So we have people living with breast cancer. We have men living with prostate cancer for many, many years, and they have complex needs at times, on top of a variety of different long-term. And we want people to be out there in the community. We want people living a life. But there will be times when during that journey they will need health services, and physiotherapy is one of those health services that they will need. And so much more evidence is saying if we can get the dosage right and the amount of exercise and different tools that physiotherapy can offer correct, people can live longer with those very complex conditions out in the community. And that's our role. We need to keep people out functioning. And the government are going to also want people to work for longer. Retirement, which
long will it?
I mean, retirement age is well, there is no retirement age any longer. So, and people want to work. People want to feel as though they are economically offering to the country and to their family for longer times, and people should be able to work for that longer length of time. And they can do that, but sometimes they need that extra bit of support.
Yeah,
along.
And you said there about, I mean, the one I really pick up on, and again, it is because of the more personal touch it has on me, but like living with cancers and stuff. I mean, my dad had stage 4 cancer, and when we were all told that used to come with only one outcome. He went through radio and chemotherapy and has survived it and is incredible. Like, it really has done amazing. But the problem is the long-term effects that the treatments to keep him alive has had in relation to his health. Absolutely. Now he needs that additional care with other areas. And it's those sorts of things of going, of course I'm going to choose life, but what does life look like when I choose that? And that this is where...
And it has a big impact on somebody's resilience.
Yes.
Like strength and physiological resilience, like how resilient is their body to be able to cope with the next cough and cold that comes their way, the next urinary tract infection, other types of infections that come their way.
And a lot of it hidden. Like we can't understand when he goes, oh, I'm so tired, and we think, what's that, Dad? Come on, like you're here, live. Like, but actually, the exhaustion takes it differently.
The different toll on your body. And so we can change some of that. So there's lots that people can still do and build up that elements of resilience, so that then they will still feel tired, and there are some times when people have gone through quite complex surgeries and complex treatment, and that we cannot change huge amounts. But if we can build up the amount of protein that somebody's potentially got on their body, or we can build up the strength, which is muscle, and we can build up the percentage of muscle that somebody has even in their 80s and 90s, then their body's then got that protein that they can use should they be unwell. So one of the big things that I always talk about is, we all know of a family member or heard the story where they went into hospital walking and they came out not walking. I mean, some of that is that perhaps they hadn't been practicing the walking in the hospital, but oftentimes is that they had a systemic infection that then drew everything they possibly had from their body, and their body said, well, actually I need to keep it alive, and to keep this body alive I need to pull all of those big muscles, the big protein stores, so your bottom and your thighs and all of those sorts of things, and to pull all of that and use that protein, those amino acids, to keep this body alive. And so as it did that, it essentially took away the muscle power and the muscles to be able to do that. So if we can get in the early stages of older adulthood, and even as adults, so from 40s, 50s and 60s, we can build up the strength and stamina and stores of those of our bodies in muscle, and all the way through, then they have got those stores ready.
I mean, where do people, if someone's listening to this now and thinks, gosh, I think I might need help, or I have that relative, like, how does that initial process start with you? Is it online? Do they just pick up the phone? And how does that assessment work?
So we always have a physio. We'll always speak to the person prior to us booking, because one of the big things that we want to ensure is that we're helping the right people at the right time, and we're the right service for them. Do a little bit of signposting, because if we think that actually there's a better service elsewhere, then we'll signpost that person. But so initially you can fill in a form online on our website or telephone us, and then we arrange for a physiotherapist to call back, normally within the day, who will call back and speak to that referring person. There are opportunities where you can book straight away without speaking to that physio if you want to, but our preferred option is that you speak to a physiotherapist just for 20 minutes, or just 10 minutes rather, just so that we can really understand that person is the right person, and we can we can sort of, to some extent, risk assess as well, to make sure that we're the right people for them for when we go in and see them. And then we do an hour's assessment with that person in their home or care home, wherever they are, and then following on from there, we'll set up follow-up appointments, which are generally an hour. We do also do an hour and a half. Some people want an hour and a half. I've got a chap at the moment who's keen for an hour and a half twice a week, because that's what...
Okay, well, that was my next question. Is it only weekly, or how often do you
And
see?
It's as much as that person needs or wants, and we've got physio assistants as well, so sometimes it might be that in order to move that person we need 2 members of staff there, because they're being moved by carers or using hoists or anything like that. So we've got the capabilities of being able to support quite complex people with complex mobility needs, and then we might find that we do 2 or 3 sessions a week, 1 session a week. It could completely down to the verbal contract that patient and that physio makes to work out what they think is the right treatment plan for that individual. And then we've got a couple of people in care homes who have gone through their progress and made some great gains, and then want to retain or slightly improve and do bits and pieces. In that time, we have a physio assistant who goes in and sees them more regularly, and at home they'll see them.
Incredible. Jo, I feel like I could still talk to you
forever.
for another hour, to be fair, but we are going to have to stop, unfortunately. However, 2 incredible ways of which people can work with you, literally. Come and join, be a franchise owner, take a territory and come and help the community the way it really deserves and needs to be treated and dealt with. Or if you've got that family member, or you are that person that needs that additional support, then reach out and come and work with Jo and the HomeLinks Physiotherapy team. So it's been a real pleasure. We're going to grab all your details. They are going to be in the description below, so you can go and find whichever route you want to take with Jo and the team. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode and you're a Kent-based business owner with a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. You can find out how to be a guest on the Kent Business Show using the link below. Be seen, be heard, be unforgettable.